hitting that record button. Okay, so we're doing some longer stretches today. We're focusing mostly on quads, some hip flexors, some glutes. We're going to do some holds. I don't often do longer holds, but we are going to do that today. We're going to do some warm-up stuff in between, though, as well. So again, it's not just going into one stretch and holding for a long time. It's moving a little bit first to get the heat going and then seeing where we can hold during the stretch and trying to deepen the stretch as we do it. I don't do it very often, but these are big muscle groups, and we're going to give it a go since you guys have been doing a lot of squats lately, a lot of high reps of burpees and things that are hitting hip flexors, glutes, and quads. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started first. I'm going to make it so that I can see a little bit of everybody. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and stand up. Maria had asked a question earlier. I like doing this type of stuff, especially in my mobility. If I'm in a garage, obviously don't worry about it, but I like doing it barefoot because then I'm forcing my feet and ankles to move true to me and not necessarily the way I always do when they're locked up in a shoe, when I get a little bit more mobility work going. So to start with, we're going to do just some really nice and slow body weight squats. They might not be all the way down. They might start at like a quarter squat. If you've been sitting at a desk all day, if you're really stiff, right? Some people can go all the way down to the bottom. That's not my goal here. I want you to stay tight up through here and making sure that you're staying nice and braced as if you could bear weight, but nice and controlled. I'm not necessarily worrying about how deep I'm going, but I am thinking about turning through, pushing those knees out, but all points of contact, right? So the big toe, the outside base of the pinky toe, and then the heel are all staying in touch with the ground the entire way I go down. And I rotate through all the way back and all the way up. Keep going. Couple more. These are just nice and slow. You shouldn't be feeling like this is a burn or feeling like a workout, but it's just forcing different things that have been sitting all day to stretch and move and bend. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and widen that stance just a little bit. For this one, you're going to turn your feet out a little more, making sure that your knees follow suit. Okay, so I don't want you to turn your feet out, but then your knees bow in. So making sure that you're only turning the angle that you can fit. Okay, so this one should get a little bit more of the adductors. I don't know if you can hear it on there, but my hips are popping, getting loose, getting open. That's okay as long as they aren't painful. Course controlled, right? Again, I'm not worrying about how low I go. Even if I could really go super deep in this, worry about getting a stretch on the tendons, getting the muscles warm. If you want to, you can kind of pulse in the bottom, rock a little bit. I really like doing the rock for the ankles and then come back up. We're going to do 5 of those. You can do slow ups and downs, or like I said, like me, I like to rock back and forth at the bottom instead. You guys can do whichever one you want. It's basically just that you showed up and I'm making you do something to move your body in a different direction than what you've been doing. Good work. 2 more. Told you, I'm sweating already. I'm in like our sunroom of the house. And 1 more. Again, if you want to do like some pulses or side to sides, I like side to sides because the ankles and up. Then we're going to go a little bit narrower again. Now, some of you have the ability to do a narrow squat. If you want to do that here, go for it. For those of us that need to work that narrowness a little because of our ankles, you can go back to your normal range of squat. You're going to sink down, and then while you hold, you're going to rock in and out. And then come back up. So it looks funky. If you can get real low and get all the way down, right, comfortably, that's fine too. Some people that might be a little aggressive. What I don't want is I don't want you turning like this, okay? It's actually purposely trying to drop and internally rotate your hip and bend your ankles a bit. It's a funky one. It's not one that we would do while weight bearing. You're just trying to work on that mobility. We're gonna do 2 more. So down, it might only be to there. You might be able to go all the way into there. That's fine. If you just want to work on being at the bottom and you go in, out, that's fine. Whatever you can do is totally fine, but you're more in that regular base. Okay? Now that we feel pretty warm with that one, we're going to sink down in a really nice hold. And this is where you can use something if you want to push yourself up and against. It depends on who you are and what kind of assistance you need. So I'm pushing in and rocking myself forward. Some of you might be able to pull yourself up and rock through as is, and then you could even lean forward to deepen the stretch. Okay, for me, I'll push myself up and through so that I'm pushing myself away. Some of you might need to push against a wall. Some of you are flexible enough, like I said, that you can just fold over. I get to about here. Okay, so my back and stuff doesn't fold, but I'm working on getting a bit of a stretch through here and a stretch through here, okay? So whatever you need to do, I push up and I sit through my pelvis. So I don't know if you can notice that it's rotating. I'm not picking my butt off the ground. I'm just pushing through so I can sit up real nice and straight. So let me show you what that looks like from this side. So for me to sit like this, I'm really rounded through here. So I'll use something that I can really push myself to sitting upright and in and leaning towards the leg that my leg is straight. I get a really big stretch on the far side and I feel my low back really sitting upright. I don't know if you guys can see that. Again, if people really like to fall straight to the ground or fall over their knee, you can do whichever one you want. I'm just choosing to hold this how it works for me. But at the end of the day, you're holding one leg straight, one leg in, trying to push it towards the ground. Okay, so if it looks like this and a bent knee, then maybe you need to push yourself up against something and push down. So that's fine. Some of you, like Brenna, might be really flexible and you might pull yourself in. You might be able to lay down to the ground. Again, I don't get there, so I don't feel much other than my low back. I don't get much through here trying to do this. Some people do, okay? So pushing yourself upright, stretching in, whatever you need. Keep hanging out. You got 10 more seconds on this side. It's a simple one. Some of you might be able to go like really wide and start to widen it out as we sit here. That's fine too. This should be a simple one. Some people it stretches more than others. It's just a nice one to start with. And switch sides. Carefully bring in the one and push it out. So this is a super simple one. Everybody probably feels this in different spots, depending on what's tight on you. Again, so I can sit like this and it's fine, but when I really want to push down, in order to do that, I round forward and it doesn't keep me really sitting up and in. So I'll use something to kind of push me up, sitting upright, and I push my leg down. You can kind of see my quads flexing, and I push myself down to the ground, rocking forward. So that's part of my holds, and it's a different kind of stretch. I almost feel it through my pelvis. Everybody's a little different, and my low back. Some people might want to lean forward. Some people might want to fall to the ground. Some people might be like this, and they're just trying to push their leg down. That's fine. Some people might try to pull really wide. That's totally okay, but move around through it. Rock through where your tight spots are. You got 23 more seconds on this one. This one might seem super silly. You might be someone that's just like this, just feels like sitting here. That's fine. Then pick one of those things to deepen whatever you feel like you need the stretch. You can even rotate into it a little if you want. Again, I like to push myself up. When I do that, I get a stretch through my pelvis. I'm a little different than some people possibly, so it's up to you. Almost done. Perfect. Okay, so that one's a really simple one. Now we're gonna hit the front of the, okay, so for the front of the quads, we're gonna do what's called a couch stretch. You guys have seen this before. The reason it's called a couch stretch is because the edge of the couch, you can push your knee all the way up to it and have it over the top. I don't have a couch in this room. You can do it on a bed, you can do anything else. You can also do it against a wall. If you have a hard floor, I would suggest getting a towel or a pillow to put under your knee because it digs in deep, but I'm gonna show you it right over here. And that is what I'm also gonna use a prop. I use the stool. Those of you at home that didn't know to get this ahead of time, you guys can snag a, like a foam roller or something, a kettlebell, whatever can kind of hold you up. We'll see how this works, depending on your flexibility. Okay, so again, I'm on a carpeted floor. Some of you might want to put a pillow down if you're on a hard floor. You could go right up against a couch, so the couch would be right here. I'm trying to put my ankle all the way up against. If I had a couch and I was over the edge, I would make sure my ankle was still all the way up to the couch and my foot is over the top. Okay, but if I'm against a wall, I'm pushing it all the way up. A lot of people will do this, where they're a ways away, and what they're really getting a big stretch on is their anterior tib in the front of their ankle, the front of their shin, which is different than having mobility come from the actual hip. So for safety on the ankle, but also to make sure you're really getting where you want, push that knee all the way back. Okay, so like this for me isn't quite stretching me enough. So what I could work up to next is bringing my leg up okay? And then from here, if I want to get up a little bit higher but need something to really hold, because this is about as high as I can get before it really pulls, I hold something like this. Again, so PVC pipe or a foam roller that you can kind of hold on to, whatever you have available, go for it. And we're going to hang out here, okay? We're going to spend an entire minute and 30 seconds here. It's going to be great. So if that parts of it, you need to come out of it a little, rock through, that's fine, depending on where you're at. You need to hold on to something for a little bit. Some of you, while you're doing it, you might eventually find you can really sit up and add an arm. I'm not one of those people that would last that long, but I might try to do little bits of pulses where I walk up to that position. I might not be able to hold it there for very long. I might have to take breaks or playing around with it. All right, guys, settle in. Have fun. I should have had you guys leave your mics off so we could have chatted while we're holding all of these long holds. Instead, I just get to watch and admire all of you holding these guys. So if you're feeling this at the top of your ankle at all, or in your shin, or in your foot, you're stretching that and not pushing yourself all the way back. If you can only even get to here and then use this to hold up, that's fine too if you can't get that other leg up. But in about another 13 seconds, I'm going to have you guys try to switch or deepen your move in some way or another. So that might be if your leg was down that you put it up. That might be that if you were down, you push up a little bit. Or right now, for me, we're going to do 30 more seconds. I'm going to add a few more of those reaches. Whew. And then I'm going to settle back in. So play around with where you're at. Try to really change and maybe feel where you're feeling it, making sure you're getting it here and not all your low back. You got 10 more seconds, guys. I'm sweating. I sweat more during stretching. Let me tell you, I'd rather be doing burpees than sitting and doing stretches. And relax. Carefully walk yourself out of it. Come away from the wall. Woo, and now you're going to stand up. It's going to be fun. You're going to stand up and you're going to do 3 squats. Okay, so 3 squats, and you should feel like one side, the hip is much looser than the other. You might even feel like the ankle just feels looser, or it just feels weird on one side versus the other. Then you're also going to do a lunge. So a lunge with it forward and a lunge with it backwards. And it should feel like it's a little bit easier. Let's do 2 on each side, or like it's just looser on one side than the other, okay? Any feedback on that one? I'd love to hear if anyone notices a huge difference. I notice a difference, but I'm the one who designed this. Anybody else notice a difference one side to the other when they did their squats after the hold? Let's see, no one's chiming, that's okay. Everyone's busy doing their stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So other side's going up. Remember that foot and knee all the way back in. Let's see what our time is. Pushing it all the way back up, knee to the wall. And you might be at a lower spot. This might feel harder than the other side. Just depends on which side you chose first. For me, this side is harder. So I have to keep my other leg down to stretch it a little bit. I'm tighter through the front of this hip, squeezing through. So I'm hanging out here. Nice job. I know it's fun. Go ahead and try and switch it up a little bit. Might not be as deep as the others, but add some step into it. A different stage. So I'm down just about as low, but I brought the other leg up just so that I can play with the other hip a little. Try to keep my foot all the way onto the ground. Try to make sure that my nail polish doesn't come off on the wall paint. Playing around with it. All right, we're a full minute in. I want you to deepen whatever it is. So for me, I'm going to try to push up. For some of you, you might put that arm up. I'm not able to sit up all the way on this side, but I'm working on it. Really sinking into it. The big magic maker here is having that leg up against something. If you can't have it against something, then try and reach back and pull it up with your other arm. I didn't mention that earlier, but that's the big difference maker, is really stretching through that quad. We got 20 more seconds to go. Oh, I'm not getting very far with that other side. Whoo, but it hurts. I can feel it. It's spicy. Now, it shouldn't be super painful, but it should feel like a stretch. Let me tell you, mine does. I might be the only one struggling with this one. I can't tell. You guys look like a bunch of shadows right now. We all got a lot of sunlight coming in. I see Catherine waving. All right, guys, carefully come out of this one. Oh my goodness, this is a long one. Oh, I have people do this up to 2 minutes. Okay, hop back up. Give me a squat. Now both sides feel a little more equal to me, right? So give me 2 or 3 squats and a couple lunges on each side. Moving through. My balance feels better. But again, I designed this one based on the fact that I know how it affects me and my abilities. So everybody's a little bit different. Okay, we'll give it a little bit of a break on the quads, and we're gonna hit the glutes now for a second with some longer holds. So we're gonna start out with doing like that half pigeon style movement. For this one, you might need a pillow or something to go under that side that's forward. So I'll show you on this side. You might need to put one here if you're not comfortable with this tension. Okay, for some of you, you might be able to sit all the way down. I'm not one of those people. This is comfortable for me, relaxing on this tension, keeping that hip square. I feel it through my glute, but I'm not sitting all the way down. That's just where the end of my tension is. For some of you, holding up into this position might be really painful, but rocking down to the side like this is not doing the same kind of stretch. I want you to really focus on bringing that hip forward and rounded. I'm okay with your knee being more bent. Some people think they have to get it all the way out to this 90 degrees, and that's how we tweak our knee. Okay, if you're not flexible enough to do that, don't do it. Bring that leg in, that's fine, and roll up through that hip. Worry about keeping that hip kind of square. So it ends up looking kind of like that. So sinking into it. This one you should feel maybe a little bit on this side. We already did something way more hardcore on this side. So you should feel most of this in the glute. And we're only doing 45 seconds on this one. So you guys got about 10 seconds left. You can rock through these ones. Yeah, Maria's getting sweaty too. So am I, man. Stretching gets me. And then switch to the other side. So again, you shouldn't feel too much in the back side of that hip flexor or quad on the other side after doing that couch stretch. But you should feel some in the glute and really work to square off the hip. So looking forward, I'll try to bring that hip here. I'm not rocking just so that I can touch the butt to the ground, at least not on this one. So I'm rocking up and through it, squaring off the hip. You can use your prop if you want to sit up even more. That's fine. If you're someone who's super flexible, totally up to you guys. We're just taking the time to do this. These should be no real new stretches in today's. They should be all things you've seen before. We're just spending time sitting in it, just making you do it. 10 more seconds. Oh, Maria's skipping ahead. She's doing fancy ones. You guys can do whatever you want. It's your mobility hour, or well, 40 minutes. Okay, go ahead and come out of that one. And then we're gonna take this guy up and across into figure 4. And then you're gonna reach around. If you're someone who needs to have like a towel or a belt to pull, that's fine. And you're gonna pull towards yourself. And we're gonna hang out here for another 45 seconds. If you want to, if you need to, you can add a little something something by pushing along that side. Sometimes I'll just hold on to the front of this to hold back, and I'll just play around with where I'm holding throughout the whole time because I get bored. 20 more seconds. This looks like this for those that can't see that angle very well. Some of you, again, might just be pulling in like that. That's totally fine. 5 more seconds. And switch sides. So figure 4, reach into the other side, pulling it up. You'll notice this leg on me doesn't get very figure 4-esque. It's much more bent. I know that about myself. I know I have that. Making sure that you're getting, for those that can't see it, that ankle fully on that other leg. If you're all the way down like this, you're stretching the ankle, trying to say you got farther. I don't care how far you get, I care about how you get there. So put that ankle all the way on that leg, really support it and press through. Good. Almost. All right, go ahead and now I do that same figure four, go back to that first side, and then you're gonna let it fall to the ground. Let's see if you guys can see it. So you're up like this, you're gonna let it fall to the ground, and then you're gonna reach. So I'm taking this arm and I'm reaching back behind me. So I'm trying to cross over and twist my upper body. And you can bring it up as high as you need to. Hopefully you guys can see that. So again, from here, that figure four, take that hand over, bring it down to the side, and then I try to take this shoulder up here and put it down to the ground. Like I'm twisting. Good work. Got 10 more seconds on this one. We'll do 30 seconds on these guys. And go ahead and switch sides. Okay, so then now you get to see what this side kind of looked like. So I have my figure four, I bring it up, I bring it over, I let it fall, that other hand comes down and around. And then I'm reaching with this side and the shoulder, trying to turn the other way. And everyone's a little different, especially one side to the other. This one is way different for me than the other side as far as the stretch that I feel and the twist that I get through here. I actually feel this one in the front. Just trying to get that leg over. That's where I'm tight. 20 more seconds. Five more seconds. And carefully rest and come out of it. All right, guys, we're gonna add some more active ones to finish it all off. We're gonna do what's called a staggered squat. So we're gonna do a squat stance. I've had some of you do this in a class before if you've been there on certain squat lifting days. Where we're gonna be in our squat stance, we're gonna slightly stagger, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And then we're gonna pretend that we're squatting squarely. So it's funky, right? You're gonna pretend like you're looking forward, hips are forward, and like you're trying to squat like your feet aren't cattywampus, but yet they are gonna be. And one side will feel like it's doing more of a deadlift, and the other side will feel like it's trying to go into a lunge, a lot more quad heavy, a lot more into the ankle, but it can only go as deep as the front leg. So it's gonna feel funky, but I want you to force that feeling of neutral pelvis, neutral upper body, and not give in and start turning with the way that your pelvis wants to. So what we're trying to do is make it adapt on purpose. Then we'll switch and put the other leg slightly forward and the other leg slightly farther back. And we'll do the same thing. And then you're gonna feel when you do a straight squat, all of a sudden how right everything feels. Okay, so what I'll do is get in my normal squat stance. I take one step, and by like one step, I literally mean like a step. I'm not like reaching way out in front. So I'm just one step forward and then one step back. And then I make sure both my feet are torqued through like they would be in a normal squat, right? So if my normal squat looked like this, I keep my feet the same, 1 foot back, 1 foot forward. And then I squat pretending with my shoulders and my hips that I'm squatting perfect. Even though I know from here down, I'm all over the place, but I'm staying square. Now I feel like this side, I feel a pull here. This side, I feel like it just stops. It's all on my knee and I don't let my heel come off the ground. So if that's as far as I get, that's as far as I get. But I'm forcing my body to adapt, making sure my knees are still tracking out in a good position. So let's go ahead and get started on those ones. So get yourself set up. Everybody with me, I'll walk you through it. Stand in your normal squat stance. Slight step forward on one, slight step backward on the other. Torque through and turn on the knees. Make sure hips and shoulders are square. And then you're sinking down. And it'll feel funky, but you're keeping all points of contact in your feet. And you're going to wherever your body allows you to go while you try to stay square. You'll feel it one side stretching differently than the other. Newsflash. You probably already have one side that sits different than the other. You just don't know it because your body's gotten used to being that as the normal. So we're trying to put it a little bit offset on purpose on both sides, then going back to what actual normal feels like so your body feels what it is like to be level. So we're playing around with it. Let's do 2 more. And then go back to neutral. Shake it out a little bit. Then you're gonna, again, line up your feet, line everything up like it's a normal squat. Slight step forward, slight step back. Square off your pelvis and your shoulders as if you're doing a normal one. And this one, I get to about here. I can't even staggered squat as good on this side because I know that I have one side that's way different than the other. But I'm trying, and I just stop where it stops me. And then I try to fix it and not let it turn me. It wants to turn me this way so I can go deeper. But I want to force it to adapt to what I'm making it do, as long as it's not hurting me, okay? If I tried to go deeper, if I put weight on me, I probably wouldn't feel very good. But I'm just going where I can go. I'm already getting a little deeper in this ankle because this ankle is being forced to play catch up to the depth of this side. So sorts of weird little things, but we're making you get uncomfortable a little bit and then having your body level off so it can appreciate what neutral is. Let's do 3 more. Okay, that might have been 2 more. I don't know. I don't really know. Walk it out a little bit. We all know my counting forte is not strong. Okay, go ahead and go back to neutral. And then let's do some regular squats. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm able to go a decent amount deeper than I was at the very beginning anyways. And it feels so nice to be neutral instead of everything all cattywampus. Getting a little sweat on. I know you've already done a bunch of squats, but mobility, especially in the middle of a work day, that's not part of your workout, is always good. Okay, last thing we're gonna do, my favorite. We're gonna get a little bit of extra effort on the hips, stretching it, putting it all together. We're gonna go through our shin boxes. I'm hoping some of you that started with me from the beginning or that have done this back when we were in class, were able to do these and play with them and challenge yourself now to where maybe you won't need a prop below the butt, or maybe you won't need to have your hand on the ground. You can just get up with these, and maybe you could do those, but you couldn't swivel. Either way, let's see if you've gotten any progress with them, okay? So something I like to do, I sit like this, and then I grab this other side, and I just rock through a little bit for some extra internal rotation practice. You can do this, great. If you can't, if you're leaning back like this, then your rock is just trying to sit up without using your hands. Okay, play with that for a second, get comfortable in this position. Maybe your goal is to try and sit upright really tall. Maybe your goal is to do it without a pillow underneath. Okay, from here, you're gonna come up into a hip hinge and then back down. Your goal is to be nice and controlled going up. If you need to rock forward a little bit, I would rather have you use momentum than use your hand if you don't need to. So on the next one, Maria, try slow lower yourself down, right? So you're falling back like this instead of hinging back like a deadlift and sitting your butt back. So try using that nice up, slow lowering down. Yep, rock it forward if you need to. If you need to help yourself on the way up, that's fine, but then work on how nice and controlled you can get to the bottom, okay? This is stuff that's really controlling not just your flexibility, but your mobility, your ability to move yourself into those positions, not just fall through those positions. So good work on those ones. Some of us struggle. Some of it, it's really easy. If it's easy for you, your next goal from this is to come up and go into like a little bit of a lunge or a stretch, and then swivel with that leg back down. You're welcome to do it if you're someone who's still falling backwards, because then you get the nice upper stretch. But what I want you to challenge yourself with is not having to tap dance your legs all the way back, right? That can get dangerous or uncomfortable. So maybe yours is just working these under control. Then you walk yourself up and forth and you do your actual stretch. But eventually I'd love for you to have the dexterity and control to pick that leg up under balance and slow lower your hips down. I'll give you another 30 seconds starting out to play with this one side. Coming up, coming out if you want to, sinking into it, whatever you want to do with that. Maybe yours is just that you're sinking down and up. Maybe you're just sitting here for another 30 seconds trying to not get it to cramp on you. That's fine too, but work on it. We're staying here for 20 more seconds. I'm going to keep moving because that's my favorite. And again, I like kind of coming out for that adductor stretch. I go forward. Some of you, it might just be working on sitting really tall That's fine. Maybe you can work on turning or twisting, whatever you want. Okay, now your goal next is to swivel if you can. Okay, so the swivel looks like this, keeping your feet planted, changing directions. If you cannot swivel, put your feet like this and then like this and get to the next position, okay? But again, if you can swivel, you're swiveling to here. That's using those hips as well. So now I'm back in this position, but on the other side, again, you might notice a difference. Let's spend some time there. I spent a minute and 30 total. So playing around with this one. So I'm here, I can feel it's tighter on this side for me. So I'm really thinking about squeezing my glute, stretching that as I come up, coming up nice and controlled. Now, I know these can be frustrating. If you feel humbled by these, good, because these are the types of things, if we can get up like this, as long as we're not aggravating things, we can get up like this. This is stuff that's going to help us with our better mortality, morbidity rates, all that stuff, with being able to get up without being able to hold on to something as we get older, being to get up off the floor, being to climb up off of something if no one's there to lift us up, so that we have less chance of serious injury or falling and not getting up, and then people find us days later. So this type of stuff, although it sounds like a really serious thing to bring up, it's really important that we have this small control in these motors. Okay, so last 30 seconds starting now, practice making it harder. If that means coming up into it like we talked about, adding a stretch, swiveling that leg back under control, any of that stuff. It might just be trying to sit up without a prop, without one underneath you. It might be trying to sit up or just throw yourself forward and slow lower down. Whatever it is, you got 10 more seconds. Playing around with it. Some of you, it might be practicing the hip swivel. Back and forth, that's fine. And time. All right, let's finish it out. Some of you probably have some tightness in your hips right now, maybe a little cramping in the glutes. Let's just hang out with that hip flexor stretch, a little bit of low back press up. If you need to, you can go in the Sphinx position onto your elbows if your wrists are sore. Really think about relaxing your glutes. And let's just hang out there. I don't know about you guys. I know these were super simple stretches, lots of holds and parts of it, little technique things, just making you do stuff, because I'm not gonna not throw out some ideas while you're sitting there holding a boring stretch, but I'm sweating. I'm definitely sweating. But again, stretching is not my best. That's why it's always good, because you guys are holding me accountable to do it at least twice a week too. 10 more seconds, hanging out here. Let it sink. All right, perfect. Let's bring it in, team, get some feedback, see what we got going, see what people felt. Just because then people that hear it later might be like, oh, I totally felt that too, or I didn't understand this. I found it hard to do this part, or one side was one way or the other. Go ahead and unmute yourselves and let's just get some quick feedback, and then we'll stop the recording and I'll let you guys get ready for the next class.
That was great. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah, just some time to spend stretching. Someone who's already super nimble and flexy. Did you notice at all if you had one side that felt different than the other, or parts that were more fatiguing for you?
Well, so I crashed my bike 3 weeks ago.
Woo!
So my knee has been kind of bad. So everything's just been really tight. So this helped a lot.
Good. I'm hopeful that this type of stuff will help with if someone has a knee tight, or if they have a hip tight, or if they have feet that are tight. It makes them kind of work together to stretch. So hopefully if one part's making up for the other, it actually gave someone as flexible as you a little bit of a stretch. So good. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for joining, Brenna.
Oh, thank you.
The shin boxes are hard for me. I could do them on one side and not the other.
Isn't that funny and annoying? And you're like, how can I, I haven't practiced either of these, and yet one side sucks and the other doesn't. Yep, for sure. Do you crisscross your legs to one side more than the other when you're sitting, or sit on one side more than the other on a chair?
I'm right-handed, and so my whole right side is stronger.
Yeah, that can happen for sure. And then sometimes we'll sit crisscross one way more often, or we sit on our chair at work, kind of like this a lot more often, and we don't realize that sitting with that slight difference over many years adds up to that type of difference.
Or driving an automatic car where I only use my right foot.
Yep, that type of stuff too, because then we shift and sit upright a little bit more on one side. Absolutely. How
Yeah.
about you guys, Amy and Maria?
I like the lopsided squats.
Yeah. Those are
Yeah,
funky, right?
Yeah, that was really weird because I did, when you said you felt like one side not being even, I totally felt that. Same with when we did the other side, like I wasn't really balanced at the end because they
Yeah.
both just felt funny. But I
Right.
liked it because I've never tried to do that before, so it was interesting.
Yeah, and we squat the same all the time. We think that we're fine. We think we're even and normal. We don't notice it. But then when we do the exact same thing, but staggered one way over the other, one side is really awful at it. And you're like, well, then that must mean I'm maybe not normally pretty straight. And I thought I was, right? So good. I'm glad you liked that one. How about you, Maria? How'd your knee do with that type of stuff?
The knee felt great. I'm sorry I jumped ahead to the figure fours, but
Oh,
that's my
there's no problem. No problem at all. I was like, she's reading my mind. She did good. It's your mobility time. So you do what you got to do. How did it feel on all of it? One side to the other?
yeah, my left side is so much stronger, and so therefore it's much tighter, and I can't get into pigeon as easily on my left side, and so I always revert to the figure fours. It's just so.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. So the little bit of time we did it today as a group made you try the pigeon instead of reverting directly, and then eventually you still make your way to the one you feel like gets you the most. That's totally okay. And it's good to still try the ones you know aren't as good to see if you're starting to get better at them. Same thing with the shin boxes for Catherine. If she starts to try those a little more often, even just sitting on one side versus the other, that eventually she might level that one out. So great. Well, awesome, guys. Is there any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to chime in for before we end the recording today? No? Sounds like everyone's
Thank you,
good.
Austin.
See you guys later.
Thanks,
Have a great
Austin.
one for the next class. It was good to see you all, and we'll see you guys throughout the week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Go kick butt.